Perfect.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Let me go ahead and minimize that. Yep. So again, my name is Marlene Veum, and I'm representing our Bchainify team. I'll go to the next slide. All of the presentation material will be shared out. I'm going to go ahead and just cover about 6 slides in this deck, and then we're going to get into the demo. So just a real quick overview on our team. So last year, we formed a team. I was a volunteer at the Wyoming Hackathon conference. It was COVID, so everything was virtual. And as a volunteer, the challenges were coming for the hackathon, and people were looking for a team. So I decided to just form a team. So we took myself and 4 other individuals that we had never met before. This was all virtual, and we actually worked together on the blockchain voting challenge, and we won the event. And then post that, our team continued to work together, and we did various other hackathon projects, and we've continued to iterate on our voting app. And so that's what we're presenting today is Chainvote. So I'll go to the next slide and give you a little overview of what we've come up with. Okay, so the original blockchain voting was for the US federal election, and we learned a lot from that, but post the event, we decided that we wanted to broaden the solution. So we started looking at building something that would work for DAOs and also for business use case, which is often referred to as corporate governance solution. And the modules that we're going to show today are how to create an organization, how to create agendas, proposals, run the election campaign, and then look at the voting results. We do have some other plans for continuing to iterate, and I'll show that in another slide on some of our future work. Okay, so the main thing is just delivering trust and compliance, and thinking about this concept like our own team as an example, where we came together being strangers, but aligning on ideas of how we can work together and how we can build together. And so we really built this app for our own use. And I think when you're building something for your own use, you think about it in a much deeper way. And so some of the things that we came out of it was better decision-making and increased participation. We've actually picked up other team members that have been getting excited about helping us with this application and using it for their own use cases. I come from a regulatory background. I work in financial services, and so we're always mindful of ease of auditing, especially when it comes to decision-making that involves distribution of funds and making sure that those are being handled in a compliant way. And so that's something we've incorporated into our application, as well as record keeping and the idea of being able to have signed documents and commit those on the ledger. Okay, so I'm going to skip through a couple of these because we really want to jump in the demo, but early on from our design, we thought about how our DApp could interoperate with existing blockchain services, both permissioned and public technologies. And so the app that we're going to show you today is a permissioned blockchain running on IBM Hyperledger, although we have done both permissioned and public blockchain service in a hybrid model. And so both are possible. And then the last slide I want to show you before we jump into the demo is just some of the modular features that we're aiming to still build out. So this is our modular design. Today, we're going to go through the election module and the proposal module, and we are going to onboard some users. So we'll be able to show that. And as I mentioned, the rest of the deck, you can look through that on your own. There's some additional materials there that we put together on how we would actually roll this out. And we would love your feedback on our roadmap as well. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and then turn it over to Prasad, who will give you a demo.
Do you have a link to the slide deck?
Yes, I will put it into the chat.
Thanks.
Mhm.
I wonder, does Prasad have a presentation?
Yeah, I have opened the demo.
Okay.
So this is the home page that you would see upon signing up. So here you could create your organization, by just putting in name, some ID and description, even an image about it. So after this, this organization would be created on the blockchain. I created a demo organization for showing. Yeah, so in this organization, you could have elections, you could have campaigns, you could add members to it, you could add other admins to it. So to start, we could see by creating an election. I have pretty standard title, description, image, and then time frame from which it would be valid. You could add moderators to that election. You could add voters. And yeah, you could create that election. And after creating the election, you could add agendas to it. So in this election, there are these two agendas for voting on your favorite food. You could add many more agendas to it. You could define how many votable choices there should be for each agenda. So these below are the options which you could vote for. You could add more options. You could add attachments to it. You could add a bit more description to it. And you could choose how many of them could be voted on within each agenda. And then, yeah, you could add more voters or moderators to it if you want. And upon adding agendas, you could go and vote on that election. So here you could select the choices. You could see how many choices are allowed. And on selecting the choice, you could confirm your vote and then sign the transaction. And if successful, you would get a transaction hash for that vote. You could verify that on our Explorer. So this will just show the detail about the transaction, what data was read and what was returned to the ledger. To go in detail, we could see details about the agenda and the choices which were chosen. Yeah, so going back, obviously you could vote on more agendas if you want. And then you could create campaigns within the organization. So this is the page where you create campaign. It's mainly the same process for creating as we had for election. So in this predefined campaign, you could submit proposals to it through this, a proposal title, details about the proposal, and a few attachments to it. And upon creating it, you could see the proposals which were created by other members, and you could see and vote on them. The vote would be maybe yes, no, or just abstain. Upon voting, you would get the same transaction hash. And if we reload, we could see vote score would increase. So it would be +1 for yes, -1 for no, and 0 for abstain. You also see a chart view of all the proposals if there are multiple ones. And yeah, you could have attachments and voters to each campaign. And for adding members, you could add them in this members tab by putting in their email address here. So we have created a few dummy accounts to add to.
So going to the, should we start like testing it out together? Right, we kind of assumed we're gonna get like maybe 5 to 10 people. So we made the 5 dummy accounts.
Yeah.
But in the mirror board, if I wonder, should I or you share the like after downhall mirror board at the same time? So, or actually, it doesn't. I mean, if you could use one of the dummy accounts and show the process, and in mirror board, I will unlock the accounts. So what I did was Mailinator accounts, and it has like Happy Voter 01, Happy Voter 02. And if you go to the Mailinator link website, you will be able to like create one account, or if you're okay, you have some kind of email. Okay, then actually Prasad has to invite you in, so that might work. But yeah, so if somebody wants to play with the votes, then we could also come up with some kind of challenge as a campaign. I mean, in Cardano we call it challenge, and make some proposals under it and just have a vote. Does anybody in the room have some cool ideas? What could we vote on? Or what kind of challenge we could have in this week?
Maybe there are some questions also, which you could answer maybe.
Or questions, yeah. Does anybody have questions so far?
Yeah, I'll help Prasad. So Prasad, the first question is how much markdown capability does the text field have?
Okay, so right now there's a limit of 2000 words. Yeah, but it could be more or less.
Okay. And then we also, so Scott, we'll see if we can create your account. If you want to
Until
use
then,
that,
I'll put the dummy accounts in the chat with the password.
or you can use the, formatting wise. Was the question about the account creation?
So the way it works, these. Can I share the screen so it will be maybe easier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This will stop sharing. This is screen 2. Sure. All right. It's lagging. It's thinking. So we are in this stage where now admin showed how to create the organization, add some users, send the email invites. So we actually in this section he already did we previously did the like invitations. So when you go in here, you will open up a Mailinator link, and you take like one of the names, Happy Voter 01. So when you choose this account, Happy Voter 01, go. Maybe put in a mirror board a name behind it, or like a dot that we know. So in this, we have an invite link, and there you will see the password, what that account has. So happyvotermailinator.com would have would be the account for the Chainvote. And to get into Chainvote, we have this application page. You can jump in here. And yes, I have to use private window because I have a token.
Yeah.
And this one.
Yeah.
But this is not an invite, so you didn't actually invite them yet, right?
Just a second, I'll send an invite.
Okay.
It would be there in the mailbox.
I think you can start screen sharing again, but yeah, so what I showed you is how would it look like when somebody from the organization invites you into the specific organization. You will get an email that, hey, actually you should get first one email what says that, hey, do you want to join? And then you join, and then you create the account, and then you get an account, which is similar to that. And then you will be able to get into the organization, and you can start browsing around what the team members are doing. But yeah.
And then when an admin sets up a campaign, they invite members to participate, and then they'll get an email to join the campaign. And from there, they can submit proposals, or they can vote on something that's already ready for an election.
Well, Prasad is perhaps inviting the people in and preparing for the presentation. Does anybody else has more questions, or could we come up with some kind of companion and few proposals?
Yeah, there's a good question from Felix. Is there a way to communicate or comment on the app? And we do have a help section. Let's see if I can pull that up while Prasad is, for feedback.
And between users, for example, let's say when there is a submitted proposal or whatnot, is it possible directly to comment on a submitted proposal or challenge or whatnot?
Yeah, that's a good idea. No, we don't have that yet. Prasad, do you want to talk about that idea for comments between team members on the proposals?
Yeah, I think that would be a really good feature to have in the future.
And Anton, you raised your hand.
Yes, Felix, thanks. Happy birthday. Just maybe I missed the setting of this. I remember you, Marlene, I think you mentioned that you've done it for permissioned environment, and that's why it's an Hyperledger. So what is the plan? So you're looking at functionality now as part of this demo, maybe some feedback on that. Is the idea then to then apply this so that it work on permissionless environment, specifically Cardano, or is it more something like a hybrid solution where you've got Cardano as one of the plugins into a permissionless environment? It's just
it's more of the latter, the hybrid. We actually did this implementation of Chainvote on Solana. So we submitted this for the Solana hackathon, and we used Sol tokens that were NFTs. So the wallet was one vote, one token. And so that's where we had experience doing it on a different platform, on more of a public type of blockchain. And then we also used Simba Chain, which has a testnet feature built in and also simulates a public blockchain.
Okay, thanks. So this is basically an improvement exercise and to then extend the functionality. So it's basically got a kind of a two-edged purpose.
That's correct.
Okay, great. No, it's great. I love it.
Yeah. Are people able to get in with these accounts, Prasad? Are the usernames and passwords set if they want to try it?
Yeah, I think so. Or even someone wants to have their email, just put it in the chat box. I can create an account.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone who would like to just try it out now, if you want to give us your email in the chat or even
just
later.
know that the email you're using, if you record the screen, it will be seen. So you use use a dummy account we created, one of the files, and I guess we could make more of them right now. Like if
Yeah.
somebody wants a dummy card.
Yeah, we would recommend sending it to our hello@chainvote.com. And
Right,
then
or right here at the chat.
afterwards, we can, you know, create accounts and allow demo access for 30 days or more. We were thinking 30 days would be sufficient time for someone to run through that and give us feedback.
And there's a question in the chat again. Is there any way to cast a vote with a comment? For example, maybe with a comment? Just a suggestion, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So you mean like abstain?
And the reason maybe, or a comment section with the vote.
I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking so much of abstain as being able to do more consent type voting.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually something that we have planned for the future roadmap, is to support different types of voting. So in corporate governance, there's different voting, there's consensus, majority, you know, different ways to gain quorum. And it is a common requirement to be able to comment with the vote.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a very good suggestion.
There's also, besides consensus, there's something called consent where you're
Yes.
simply,
Yep. Yes, that is correct.
And one question about the security behind, because now everything is by email. So how do we avoid cheating? When, let's say, for example, I have 5 email accounts, I would just sign up with 5 email accounts and I have 5 votes. How do you avoid it?
Part of our future roadmap, which is in the presentation deck, is to build a wallet. So, and that's actually the implementation we did with both Solana and also for the election voting on the blockchain, is we actually just had a wallet, and it also is allowing the user's identity to be tokenized. So when they vote with their wallet, they have a voting token, and then their identity is also tokenized. So when you look in the file explorer, you only see their tokenized identity and their vote that was cast. So it's a nice privacy feature.
Yeah, and the way I feel it is, I think we have talked it before, when we create this organization and you as an owner have the account, you're actually, in the future, it is a service, a subscription, you pay for it. And now you want your friends or your colleagues or team members to join. So you don't just make your organization public and, hey, everybody join in, I just let you in. But you know, hi, I'm going to send you an invite, I'm going to send you an invite, or have like these kinds of proof of live meetings where we are in a live session. We thought, oh, hey, Scott, account for you. Oh, John Bach, yeah, account for you. Oh, Prasad, Felix, accounts for you. So it's more private, and you know that who are in the team. So as of right now, like it is not meant for like everybody from like a decentralized way join and start voting, because the security is much harder to build right now. And right now we are in so early stages. We just want to get features in, get the UI looking good, and get it working.
Great, because I just wanted to ask, how is it about scalability if you need everybody in a proof of live Zoom call with 20,000 people who want to vote? But I think it was great that you mentioned it's just the beginning. And so it seems that you are still on the very beginning and in full development. So especially seeking now for feedback to move everything forward, when I'm right.
Yes.
In terms of that, what you just said, that if you have 20,000 people, if there are registered accounts and they use the like Zoom call and the registered via Gmail, we can collect all these, or like not Gmail, but I mean email, And we can collect all of these and say, hey, all who registered in this event will get that application and will get an invite to their email to the application. Or so, and then invite everybody at the same time, even if it's 20,000. But that means we just have to run a lot of clusters. I don't know, Prasad knows more how much it will cost. If I was like, holy shit, this is more than my yearly payment.
Because this would be another question. How are the costs, for example, when you calculate it down?
Yes, we have that in the presentation of what our current development costs and run rate is right now. With, if we want to, we can even maybe go back to that if you'd like to review that. I also posted a presentation from our Yvote implementation, which shows using a wallet, shows a tokenized ballot, shows how the user identity is also tokenized. And so that's also available in the chat.
Yeah, and mostly the cost depends on how much nodes that there are and how much capacity each instance has.
Yep.
So if you want more and more members, you could just put in more and more nodes.
And from your point of view, what time is required to make Chainvote running compatible with Cardano on chain?
I think the limitation that we see putting this on a public architecture is the privacy of each organization. So we are still exploring how we could keep votes on a public ledger while still some kind of encrypting the votes or encrypting the whole details about the election. There are a few research papers. We're talking to a few researchers and to share, put it in the chat box.
Yep. And also this would have to be accommodated probably with the wallet design that we did for the Wyoming hackathon, where we did demonstrate that all of that was tokenized. So everything on the election was tokenized, the candidates' names. So in the UI, the candidates' names are there, but it's on the blockchain, it's all tokenized information.
I picked up some questions from a chat. One was this, can this be pulled out completely on Cardano, which is again a yes, although we don't have the technical knowledge. But I know if we will take knock on James Store, he could help give us a helping hand.
Yeah.
And another question, because we do plan to, if it starts working, people start using it. I don't see any reason that we could run on Cardano, Solana, Near, Polkadot, like all of these chains. It would be interesting to see, to make a proposal and all the chains could vote on the same proposal, for example, and you will see costs. And yeah, there are different maximalists, but to me, it doesn't matter as long as it works and it gets the work done. And another question I found was, does every person vote have same weight to it? So for now, yes, one account, one vote. But there are other possibilities which is able to build in, but this is a good start to have.
Yeah, so there was a tokens module, if you see in the architecture. So within our company, if someone has more shares, so that could allocate their share of the vote in the election process. Yeah, I can invite all the dummy accounts.
Can you share your screen so that it's visible how you are doing this stuff? When it's okay for you.
Yeah.
But one thing you missed, you just made it, it ends in 2 days, but maybe you end it in 20 minutes or so. Then we have.
But it's fine. We can see the election as we vote.
Okay.
Sorry, we can see the result as we vote.
All right.
So we created the election. So what should the agenda be?
Who is the finest person in the room?
Then it's a competition. Then it's not a election.
Favorite pet.
So come up with a better election next to it. I dare you. Oh, we have so many people to be added there.
You want to add everyone from the room in the list now?
Yes.
Okay, do it. And we'll take a time. So
meanwhile, what else we could choose from? Like, what is the most interesting challenge we have on Fund 6, perhaps?
just call it test. Just test. Test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4.
We don't need to test. We
Let's see, it's a test.
We need to find answers. We have opportunity to find answers right now.
Okay.
We'll just keep it between Tevo and Felix.
Maybe, what I don't know is what kind of like this smoke. I know you're smoking, but I don't know what kind of smoke you use. Perhaps you could throw in a challenge, okay, what is Felix smoking? And then you give us like 4 options and we will try to guess and see if as a collective do we find the brand. Or... Yes. But I mean,
Just let's move ahead a little.
Yeah. Let's see if we could add the dummy voters.
Maybe a question, just yes or no question. Did you like CA to be a CA in this funding round? And then we have yes and no, and people can vote.
So this is the other window where you can see the invite. Yeah, so first we need to add this as a voter.
And when I write the voting results on your app, they can be seen in live, no?
Yeah.
For everyone who is participating.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
This is the dummy account we just added.
Sorry, could I make a question, please?
Yes.
I'm new in this world, and your idea is to make a vote system like a buy, a crypto buy, where you could store the vote in a ledger. Wait, I am trying to understand. The idea is to have an app to make a vote system, right?
Yeah.
That is trustable, safe, and built on a blockchain. It's right?
Yes.
If I have my mobile phone, I'm able to access to the vote system and vote in the comfort of my home, right?
You can do it right now. If you write down the app.chainvote.co, then if the app and then in the browser, then this application will open up. And right now what Prasad is doing, he's adding these mailinator.coms. These are the dummy accounts we're just making. If you put that username and password in, the password is the same, the name of the happy voter tree. And then you will get into the screen where you can start selecting proposals and vote on them.
I just have a question. This is one of the idea that I told to Daniel. I think it's great, and it's one of the most important to democratize the world. However, our mobile phones is easy to hack. How can we solve this problem? This is something that I have in my mind for a long months ago, since I think about this idea. Usually this was the one idea that I have in the hackathon, Ethereum hackathon. Hopefully I discovered Cardano and fall in love with Cardano ecosystem. And this is one of the issues that I have. How could I make an app that is trustable to everyone and that it's not easy for a hacker to access and vote by myself? I think I see what you have in your presentations, and I don't see anything that related to this. But I think that ask about it, but it's just my idea. You see, it's trustable when we build on blockchain. Everyone knows that it's not possible to change the blockchain vote, the blockchain ledger, but how we access, how I touch my screen, it's easy to hack. So I think it's something that people could say, oh, it's not so trustable, you see?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's, I don't know if Scott is back, but Scott posted something about the Soul Vote wallet, and that's what I've concluded too, is that we would want to support a wallet dApp and not support both native client flow and mobile app. So it would have to be something that would tie strong identity, multi-factor authentication and strong identity and key storage on a mobile app. And then the tokens, the voting tokens would be stored in the voting app.
Yeah.
So the
and
trust
also,
would have to be referred to the client side. Sorry, Prasad. Yeah, the trust of all of that would have to be client side.
But it's
Also-
difficult to
Yeah.
spread that idea through people that don't know how to do it. You see?
Yeah,
if,
and that
if it's only for ITs, it's good.
Yeah.
But even I have a few insights about these subjects, and I believe someone stole me a few Bitcoins because they phish my
Yes.
computer.
Yeah.
And if someone wants to change the votes, because there are lots of, I see that as a vote system for a country, for United States. I don't see only for small votes. You see, I think you have the possibility to implement that all over the world. One day, I hope. I
Yeah.
love this project.
Thank you. I actually had a question about this myself, and I think one of the interesting requests that we would have is doing the wallet applications specific for Cardano dApps. And I don't know if there's any other initiatives around building out wallets for
I think it's
Cardano.
one. I think it's one in Solana. No. One that seems almost the same
Yeah.
in Solana ecosystem.
Yeah. Yeah, and in that case, we did do that, and we used a Sol token for voting, but the same could be done with Cardano.
I don't know if that's my question was important or no, but it's something that I was in my mind for a long time.
Yes, no, I agree. I think that your question is probably the most important aspect of the trusting the vote. As you mentioned, once the vote is cast on the blockchain, it's immutable, but before it gets to the blockchain, can we trust who was behind the vote? And it was the actual intended voter. And so definitely I like your question, because this is an opportunity to partner with those who are building wallet applications and having the identity trust.
Sorry, are there here in the group any IT? I don't know you, any programmer or someone that understands. I have one idea. If we could have the app, and when people want to vote, they turn off the data, the Wi-Fi, so we could vote offline, and then the app uploads the vote. You see?
Yeah.
I think it's one idea. Just I don't know if it's possible. It's what I do when I transact my coins. I do it offline in a mobile that don't have access to the internet. So
Yeah.
the difficult hackers. If we generate another IP, for instance, it's different. So it's more difficult to someone to hack the app.
Yeah.
Because we create another level of difficulty. It's just an idea. I don't know if it's possible or no, but I love your project. It's one of mine.
Actually, I'd like to take that idea forward, if we can get feedback, we have a feedback survey, because we should build out some of these sequence diagrams of actually how that flow would work. So I'm taking a note that we would like to follow up on that. Sorry, Tevo, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You got me thinking there, because in Cardano, how I would see it working is that you have your own computer outside all the network, where you hold, for example, let's plug in it Cardano. You hold one NFT, which is like non-fungible token, and you only has it on the cold wallet on the side, which is not connected to anything. And when you need to vote something, we could perhaps do something where you as like the application owner, you only allow transactions what are done by the NFT, what is from cold wallet. So you would have to make a transaction to get the signature from the cold wallet, which means you have to go to the hard cold wallet or use some kind of special connection to the stake pool or wherever your NFT is lying. Make the transaction, sign it with the cold wallet, and then send that transaction back to the application we have, and then it knows that okay, it has that signature, what is hidden from all the public eyes.
You could create. Create. I think it's create. Sorry, my English. You could create an hash at the moment. You see, people have their app, open the app, and they have to think. So we are lots of time waiting for the decision of the person who will gonna vote. In that moment, people will have to know that have to shoot down the data, the Wi-Fi. Then they vote. They take 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 second, doesn't matter. When the app receives the vote, it creates an hash, for instance. Then people have access to internet, and the vote with that hash was able to attach to verify the transaction in the blockchain. You see, so if I'm outside and I want to know what people are voting, I don't have access to the screen, So I don't know what they are voting. Then the inside back in the backstage, I don't know. In the back you have the hash that are created by your app that is trustable and recognizable by the blockchain with the decision of the people, of the person, the vote decision. You see, if I'm an app, it's more difficult because I am not able to see what people are touching, and it's not able nowadays. It's not easy to assess, to decrypt an hash generated by the system, by your app.
But we do come back to that what you proposed that earlier, that if your hardware gets hijacked, then it doesn't matter how hashed it is. So in the end, what we I remember last year, or like maybe not that long ago, we did look other competition who also do voting application. And I remember one name called Votes, which had like a list of ways he does his security, which is like, it looks at where you are located, what browser you're using. And if you are like a regular user, you vote, and suddenly there is another state you're voting or another browser you're voting. It could put it in your, like in a filter list, send you an email, send you another phone number. You have like your backup stuff so that you get notifications on all different sites. That, are you sure you voted just right now? And
I really don't have an idea about it. It's
so
just because it's not my area. I'm just an enthusiast. I do some hacks because just for fun. But I think it should be discussed with technicians, with the people that code and have these ideas, because they are expertise in these areas.
I see a question from Chrissy about the storage. Yeah, so where are the attachments saved, and is there a size limitation? So currently we are storing it on a centralized bucket, but on our permission network, there are clusters for each organization where they have where they store private ledgers and private database. So there we allocate a certain storage limit to each organization. And yeah, within that cluster and that limit of that storage, the members and election process of that organization could store their documents.
I see another question. What method was used on Solana to verify users? Don't remember. But maybe Marlene or Prasad.
So I posted our GitHub to the Solana Chainvote app, and same thing, we had built accounts.
Yeah.
So it was a hackathon, so we just demonstrated accounts that we had already created.
Yeah, and Solana has a bit different architecture. So for each account, there is another account which stores the state of if they have voted yes or no, or there would be another account which stores the details about the election.
Since I'm taking notes, sorry, Prasad, maybe I missed it. Do we set up a hyperledger cluster for each organization, or is it like a bulk of organizations?
Yeah, a cluster for each organization where they have their own private ledger and their private database.
Yeah, so we did do an IPFS implementation, Scott, for Bchain. And we used Bchain and their blockchain hosted service. We also did a supply chain DApp with Chainlink and FPS. So I like your idea, and I understand why that's a good design.
If the voters are hashed, why not store the data on IPFS?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just answered that that's what we did for our implementation and on Bchain. So we used their IPFS hosted service. I have a demo of that actually. It's a YouTube demo that I could post if anyone's interested of how we, okay.
And I mean, you kind of covered it all, except the voting, what I was expecting to see, but I guess we are messing it up. I guess we have to do a built-in dummies in the voting application that you have one click and you get your dummy account to make it more easier. But I mean, for just a backdrop, I mean, this journey of like having these kinds of building and discussions with the Bchainify team, Marlene, Prasad, there was on the name there are also Barda and Avir who were also quite close to this working at the early stages. Right now they're on other projects, which doesn't mean they are gone, they're still in the team. But we have several things and avenues we're going, and so we also are decentralized, so we let them be where they are at best. So even I most of the time was more on the Cardano side and sometimes got news like, oh, an update or something. And I mean, thinking that 1 year ago, it was my first hackathon, I didn't know what is hackathon, joined in, and Marlene said, oh yeah, I see you. And then the funny thing was the first thing they said was like, hey, you have this e-voting thing, and on Estonia, it's working on blockchain, so you should have information how it all works. And I said, I had no clue. First time I Googled it out myself. And now how far we have actually a working application. We no longer have like Word documents and just discussions. We actually have something working. It's cool stuff. I mean, I hope our journey will continue through different platforms, and I hope to see that Cardano community sees the value we are trying to build, and this we also like open source applications and stuff, so some of that also will be like share the knowledge to everybody else too. And yeah.
What do you envision as next steps, for example, also regarding, for example, Chainvote and Cardano ecosystem?
Well, I briefly mentioned before the Catalyst Circle election. I would love to see if there could be some kind of collaboration with the Idea Scale, that they think about how to like give access token, so that they don't have to share emails or anything, but just an access token to go onto the Chainvote and then have an election there. All the Toro or Catalyst team have their own admin rights. They set up who are like the electees, or I don't know how you say it, and then everybody who has Idea Scale account would go to this site we just showed and vote, and then we will have a way to see it on Hyperledger who actually won or who lost, instead of, and it's already a small step ahead. And perhaps somebody in, okay, yeah, go. One idea more.
One feedback I had from Catalyst Circle for this is already that it seems that they would like to have something house-made. So to use a voting application on Hyperledger to vote the committee for the Catalyst Circle, so on the Cardano ecosystem, would feel kind of weird.
Mm.
So,
Well, sure, but then again, the Google form was also weird. So, I mean, it's already a step ahead to the blockchain world. But yeah, I understand if they already have some kind of solution in set, or yeah, so that's one thing. And another thing, as some of you may know, I have mini proposal processes and the workshops. So if a community votes on the treasury, and this is the application I would use to start voting on the proposals we are collectively going to create. And yes, again, it's not on Cardano, but that will come later. First, we need the use case, we need people using it, and then the integrations can happen. The same for, like, even if it feels like weird that the Cardano community is supporting an application, what is not yet built on Cardano doesn't mean that we will never build it on here. We have priorities, and if people are interested in it, of course we will meet in the midway and get something working.
so what do you think already on exploring some use cases with the community as well, where you can say, okay, maybe we have groups like Catalyst Swarm, School, Eastern Town Hall, other groups, to say, okay, so exploring already use cases, creating feedback loops so that you guys know as well, okay, how is it working in action with everything, how to develop it further. Maybe also you could envision to write a proposal for Fund 7 in November, to also with the goal maybe to move Chainvote on Cardano.
Yeah, there was actually an attempt in Fund 3 to actually move this application to the Cardano, but back then I didn't have the knowledge of writing proposals as I have now. And I mean, it's whole thing is a big learning curve. But yeah, I see that we might come back with another proposal to be more clear of the plan to execute. And now we have actually a even better proof of concept compared to last time.
Yeah, I think that's what we're looking for, is if you can maybe take a run through the app and use it and then give us some feedback. And user stories, use cases, that would really help us.
Did we post the feedback link in the chat too?
I'll just put it here.
Okay.
Prasad is sharing the link to our feedback survey. So if you want to give us feedback, we would greatly appreciate it.
Are there any more questions, any more ideas where we could go with our application, where we should show it, or some quick things, what might make it for you to use it before we close the session?
What I got out of this session, and we're grateful for the opportunity, is just all the interest in governance, how to streamline governance, how to collaborate.
Sorry?
Just in the interest in governance. And how to collaborate and how people form together. And I think that's why at the beginning of this, I said it's come full circle for us, because when we formed our team, we were all strangers. We didn't know each other. We have the US, India, Estonia, Nigeria. We came together and we just started collaborating. And then we started building tools to make our collaboration easier for our own ideas, but also to share it with others and bring other people on board with our journey and get the feedback. So that's amazing when you can, form with strangers, and a year later, you can be talking to the Cardano Catalyst team members and just share, how we came together and how we've tried to solve problems for ourselves and for others, and just the power of governance, the power of being able to raise your proposals, your ideas, not be shot down, and get feedback. I think that's very, very powerful. So
I think you're acting exactly in the same spirit like the community is all about here as well. And
yeah,
what you have done is a really beautiful example already, also of the power of collaboration, just coming together. Doesn't matter where you are from, doesn't matter whatnot, just moving to the same direction and building value for everybody. So a lot of respect also for what you have achieved so far.
thank you.
And really curious to stay tuned and to explore some use cases already where we can have a look how can be used, give you feedback, and allow you also to develop everything further.
Thank you, Felix. Thank you, everyone.
You definitely have my support. This is just my personal point of view, but yeah, amazing what you are doing, and you deserve support, definitely.
Any last thoughts from people who didn't take too much of a word, like Stephen, Marco, Ed, Tati, Chrissy?
Really exciting. It'd be really great to see some use cases, even some messy ones, some quick and dirty stuff going on next few weeks even. I know Catalyst Circle might be resistant to it because of the platform, but maybe there's an argument there that, well, Google Forms is also a proprietary platform, so why use Google Forms if you, at least it's going to move towards the blockchain. Okay, it's not, we're still in a transition in Cardano towards going towards our blockchain. So I think it's reasonable to be okay to sometimes use the other blockchain. But yeah, really good, really positive. It'd be good to see some tests and some use cases in Catalyst community.
Let's brainstorm a little bit about Steve and Tevo, how we can bring something there on place that Chainvote can go in action. Because also when you envision to say, okay, that you maybe submit a proposal in Fund 7, so in November, it's always nice to have already a certain documentation on the proposal where you can say, okay, this has been the use cases, this is the gathered data, and this is how it went.
Yeah, just right now, the one hard thing, what I even noticed in this session was that to come up with a question that everybody, oh yeah, we should find an answer for this. It's like they come with like, oh, like in some spirits, but when you really need it, it's like they know it's hard to squeeze them out. And another, but now, and I also think about like reading the Discord we had about reputation. So that one use case, I mean, but that's an extra work. So, but still, for example, all these swarm sessions, all these town halls we have people in this room. We can create them accounts, we can join them in, and then we have like, after event ends, you have like 3 votes or 1 vote, or I don't know, and all the hosts or rooms, or maybe just the rooms we had, and people vote for what room did you like the most, or what room brought you value, what room should be there next, and like simple like 3-4 questions. And if people vote on it, and that could be like a place to get reputation, like, oh, okay, this got like 90% of people voted to get this room again, or 70% found this.
Sorry, another thing that occurs to me is that I think we've been discussing this over the past week, is the need for the community to become familiar with these tools and to play with them a little bit. So to become, because there's a lot of talk, there's been a lot in the past few months and years even, there's been a lot of talk about this, about governance, about how different governance systems, how will voting work. But we need to move on to the next level where we actually play with things, play with voting systems and see how they break and see how they distort decisions. You know, see where it's appropriate to vote on something, see where it's inappropriate to vote on something. And so, like you say, Tevo, it's like, is it appropriate? It may be silly to vote on something trivial, or is that good fun? Is it, you know, that kind of, you know, or when, and if you're voting for something more serious, do you need a different kind of system? That kind of thing. You know, so even if it's not something introduced as a mature use case, the use case can be, its use can be the use case. You see what I mean? So, you know, maybe that's something we can take away from this.
That goes with our with Prasad example with the food selection.
I think, yeah, it's kind of a little bit expecting too much to come up with a topic to vote on during a conversation. This has to be set up before. Can be very simple, like Stephen mentioned, or you, Tevo, just mentioned, and just allow them move through, for example, how you sign up and everything in a presentation, wait for the others. Just make them, what Stephen said, it's very important. You have an amazing tool, but the best tool gives you nothing if there isn't an education for the tool. So make them familiar, very slow, step by step. Allow them to get warm with the tool. And then over time, when you get used to it, yeah, then everything can work smoothly. So let's think about something. And I think for this week, yes, now a summit is coming. Everything is on fire, no time at all for nobody. Next week, when everything is calming down, maybe let's have a look how we can get some nice use case. What you said, for example, just vote on the rooms would be difficult because this have to be sent out to everyone and then you have to sign up later. And as we know, people now
Oh no. Ma kaotasin neti ära.
Solidify what it should be, and the things that, you know, the vision, the things that are working that don't have to require so much explanation, and then questions. So it really helps us with our strategy.
I heard the first half of what Felix said, but I would already add on to it. Even though I'm not sure I'm arguing the right thing, but I do agree that even this session helped to understand the complexity of how to onboard people. Like for us, it was like, oh, okay, we make dummy accounts. We just in one minute we created, we voted, but it was okay, it's easy. And now when we actually do it live, it's like, oh my God, this so many movies. Who is sharing the screen? Like the basic thing. And but okay, so but after like we flesh out the education, like you said, and how to get an account. I think even starting from like, let's say, swarm sessions and say, hey, here you can use this education. We have like a few minute session, you join that. Yeah, there could be people who are left behind, but there are people who make it to the end and make it to the voting. And then next week, you perhaps start with the, hey, remember this room, we voted on this, we got some reputation, but we're still playing. We keep repeating that we are experimenting and playing, and now these people can try again. Okay, now I know a little more, and perhaps I could get a little further with the registration, and slowly you're building the people who are getting in and are voting, and we could check how many people voted and how many, what was voted on, because if we try different questions, and this is like Stephen said, we boiled the practice of voting, and then we can start like filtering out what is trivial, what is not, and maybe we just magically step into a question. Oh, this should be asked every time because this brings us value. Every time it brings us insight, and that's what we should do. And this is where I think we want to get with voting.
Definitely directly in the spirit of Project Catalyst. Mostly a dirty start. It's an experiment and evolve over iterations.
Yes.
Yeah, we could, so you could do as a series of workshops, couldn't you, Tevo? And then also there's the education and documentation as well, you know, and then fitting in, so we can record what we're doing, we can learn lessons from what we're doing, and see how it applies to different segments of governments in different parts of what we do.
You named the word workshop, and then I was like, do you mean mini proposal workshop? And I was like, oh, we do sometimes have like several problem statements where when we come up with the workshop, and in the end, like everybody gets an app to vote and then choose the best problem statement for this thing, what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, just to get as many people involved in the act of governance as possible, you know, in terms of practicing it, like using tools, you know, really that's to get to the next level, basically, in terms of Catalyst governance culture. Now, as we've got smart, you know, now all the technological opportunities arrive, like smart contracts and all that, it's how to respond to that. So, and make people more, well, I suppose it's education, isn't it?
Voting scenario workshops. Right. But thanks for joining the session, giving feedback, and encouraging us to continue. So,
Thank you so much. I posted some of our admin user guide documentation, so we are starting on that. And again, thank you all for your time, and any additional feedback, please reach out. I got a lot out of this session. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for you and for all the work you have done so far. And we stay in contact for sure. Yes. And really happy also to see a group like you joining the ecosystem. That's something beautiful as well, I think. So welcome as well. And feel empowered and encouraged.
Yeah, you will see more of us.
I hope so. I count on you. Great.
right.